The massive space station called Stellar Forge hung in the darkness between three suns. Inside its metal halls, the best warriors from dozens of worlds trained to become elite soldiers for the Galactic Defense Coalition. The air was thick and heavy because the station ran on double gravity, 2 times stronger than Earth's pull. This was normal for most alien species, but it would crush a human in minutes. Commander Tae-min stood in his office, looking out at the training grounds. His green-scaled skin caught the light as he watched his students practice combat moves. As a member of the Valk race, he was built like a giant lizard that walked on 2 legs. His people were known throughout the galaxy as the finest warriors alive. That's why the Coalition put him in charge of this place. Today, everything would change. Today, they were sending him a human. Taemin's clawed fingers drummed on his metal desk. The order had come from the very top of the Coalition government. Earth had just joined their alliance, and the politicians wanted to show that humans could serve alongside other species. But Tae-min knew better. He had studied human biology. Their bones were too light. Their muscles were too weak. They came from a small, quiet world where nothing dangerous ever happened. They would break in his training program. A soft chime told him his visitor had arrived. The door slid open with a hiss, and drill instructor Yuri entered the room. She looked like a walking crystal. Her body was made of clear blue stone that sparkled when she moved. The Zephyrian race was known for being nearly impossible to break, which made Yuri perfect for breaking others. "The human transport just docked," Yuri said. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Should I prepare the medical bay?" "Make sure it's ready," Tae-min replied. "This won't take long." They walked together through the station's corridors toward the docking bay. Other instructors joined them along the way. Word had spread quickly that a human was coming. Everyone wanted to see this strange new creature that thought it could train with real warriors. The docking bay doors opened, and a small figure stepped out. The human was smaller than Tae-min had expected, barely reaching his chest. His dark hair was cut short, and his brown eyes looked around the bay with curiosity rather than fear. He wore a simple gray uniform with Han Sol written on the name tag. "Recruit Han Sol reporting for duty, sir," the human said. His voice was steady and strong despite the heavy gravity that should have been crushing him. Tae-min looked down at this tiny creature. "Do you understand where you are, human?" "Yes, sir, the Coalition's elite training facility. I'm here to become a soldier." Several instructors laughed. Yuri's crystal body chimed with amusement. But Tae-min noticed something strange. The human wasn't struggling with the gravity. His breathing was normal. His posture was straight and confident. "Follow me," Tae-min ordered. They gave Han Sol a quick tour of the facility. The training grounds were huge, filled with obstacle courses that would challenge any warrior. The weapons range had targets floating in zero gravity while shooters dealt with changing gravitational fields. The combat arena could simulate any environment in the galaxy. "This is where you'll live," Tae-min said, stopping at a small room. "Your quarters have been specially prepared." What Tae-min didn't say was that he had secretly doubled the gravity in this room. Instead of the station's normal 2 times Earth gravity, Han Sol's room was set to 4 times normal. No human could survive that for more than a few hours. Han Sol stepped inside and looked around. The room was basic: a bed, a desk, a small closet for clothes. He set down his bag and nodded. "Thank you, sir. When do I start training?" "Tomorrow at dawn. Get some rest." Taemin's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "You'll need it." As soon as the door closed, Tae-min activated his hidden cameras. He wanted to watch the human collapse. It would make good evidence for why humans shouldn't be in the Coalition military. But Han Sol didn't collapse. Instead, he unpacked his bag carefully, putting his few belongings away. Then he did something that made Tae-min's eyes widen. The human dropped to the floor and started doing push-ups. 1, 2, 3. He counted out loud as his arms lifted his body up and down against the crushing gravity. 20 push-ups, 50, 100. Hansol stood up, barely breathing hard. He sat on his bed and pulled out a small device, some kind of Earth communication tool. A young woman's face appeared on the screen. "Hey, Yunji," Hansol said softly. "Big brother, how's space?" The woman looked just like Hansol, but with longer hair. "Are the aliens treating you okay?" "They're testing me, but I'm fine. The gravity here is heavier than home, but it reminds me of working construction in the deep mines. I knew you'd be okay. You never back down from anything." They talked for a few more minutes about home, family, and Earth. Taemin found himself listening carefully. This human had worked in mines? On a construction crew? What kind of work did humans do that? Prepared them for heavy gravity? After ending the call, Hansol lay down on his bed. Within minutes, he was breathing the deep, steady rhythm of sleep. Taemin watched all night. The human never stirred, never showed any sign of distress. When morning came, Hansol woke up naturally, did more push-ups, and got dressed for training. This was impossible. Taemin met Hansol at the training ground entrance. Other recruits were gathering, creatures from a dozen different worlds. There was HFY, a proud warrior from the Kandorian Empire whose people had conquered half their galaxy before joining the coalition. Her purple skin and 4 arms made her a formidable fighter. She looked at Hansol with obvious disgust. "So this is the human," she said. "I've heard your people are made of soft meat and weak bones." "I guess we'll find out," Hansol replied calmly. Yuri appeared beside them. "Attention, recruits. Today we test your limits. Follow me." As they walked toward the training area, Taemin pulled Hansol aside. "How did you sleep, recruit?" "Very well, sir. Though I have to ask." Hansol looked up at the commander with those steady brown eyes. "The gravity in my room feels kind of light. Would it be possible to make it stronger?" Taemin stared at him. "Stronger?" "Yes, sir. Maybe triple what it is now. I'd like a real challenge." For the first time in his military career, Commander Taemin was speechless. This small human was asking for more punishment. This creature was requesting conditions that would kill most of his instructors. "We'll see what we can arrange," Taemin managed to say. As Hansol jogged ahead to join the other recruits, Taemin realized something important. He had no idea what humans were really capable of, and that thought both excited and terrified him. Word spread through the stellar forge like wildfire. The human had asked for more gravity, not less, more. Every instructor, every recruit, every maintenance worker heard the story within hours. Some laughed, others shook their heads in disbelief, but all of them wanted to see what would happen next. Yuri stood in the main training hall, her crystal body reflecting the bright lights overhead. Around her, 20 recruits from different worlds waited for instructions. They represented the best warriors their species could offer, all except one. Hansol stood among them, still looking impossibly calm. The gravity in the training hall had been increased to 6 times Earth normal, triple the station's standard. Most recruits wore support gear to help them move. HFY had activated her power suit's anti-gravity assists. Jin Woo, a gentle giant from the peaceful Altarian world, struggled to stay upright despite his massive size. Hansol wore no support gear at all. "Today, we run the Iron Gauntlet," Yuri announced. Her voice chimed like broken glass. 20 kilometers through obstacle courses that will test your strength, speed, and will to survive. The last 5 to finish will be removed from the program. She pointed to a doorway that led to the station's most feared training ground. The course changes as you run it. Gravity shifts. Temperature varies from freezing to burning. Some sections are in complete darkness. Others are flooded with blinding light. HFY stepped forward. What's the record time? 47 minutes. Set by a Kandorian warrior 3 years ago. Yuri's crystal eyes seemed to focus on Han Sol. I expect most of you to take twice that long. If you finish at all, the recruits, lined up at the starting line. Han Sol found himself next to Jin Woo, whose blue skin had turned pale with worry. The Altarian stood nearly 3 meters tall, but his people were farmers and philosophers, not warriors. I don't think I can do this, Jin Woo whispered. My world only has half normal gravity. This feels like being crushed by a mountain. Stay, close to me, Han Sol said quietly. We'll get through it together. A loud horn sounded, and they were off. The first section was a climbing wall that stretched up 30 meters. Most recruits used mechanical aids or natural abilities like flying. Heywan's forearms made her incredibly fast on the wall. A recruit from the insectoid Nethak collective named So Young scuttled up like a spider. Han Sol simply grabbed the wall and started climbing. His fingers found holds that others missed. His body moved with smooth efficiency, like he had been climbing walls his entire life. He reached the top just behind Heywan, with Jin Woo close behind thanks to Han Sol's. Called out directions for good handholds. The second section was worse, a maze filled with swinging hammers, rotating blades, and sudden gravity reversals. Recruits had to dodge and weave while the environment tried to crush or cut them. 2 recruits from different species gave up within minutes, overwhelmed by the combination of obstacles and crushing gravity. Han Sol moved through the maze like he was dancing. When gravity reversed, he adjusted instantly. When a massive hammer swung toward his head, he ducked and rolled without breaking stride. Behind him, Jin Woo followed his path exactly, trusting the human's guidance. How is he doing this? So Young chittered to her teammate as they struggled through a section with spinning blades. Humans aren't supposed to be able to handle this much gravity. By the halfway point, Han Sol was in 3rd place behind Heywan and a recruit from the aggressive Nexari Empire. But he wasn't breathing hard. He wasn't sweating. He looked like he was taking a casual jog through a park. The 3rd section nearly broke everyone. They had to carry 200-kilogram weights across a bridge while gravity fluctuated randomly between 3 and 12 times normal. When the gravity spiked to maximum, most recruits collapsed to their knees, unable to move. Not Han Sol. When the gravity increased, he just adjusted his grip and kept walking. When it decreased, he moved faster. He started passing other recruits who had been ahead of him. This is impossible, Heywan gasped as Han Sol walked past her. She was using all 4 arms to drag her weight, her power suit whining with strain. No creature can adapt to gravity changes this quickly. Maybe your information about humans is wrong, Han Sol replied without stopping. The final section was pure endurance. A straight 10-kilometer run under maximum gravity with no obstacles, no tricks, just a test of who could keep going when their body wanted to quit. This was where superior conditioning usually won over speed or cleverness. One by one, recruits fell behind. Their bodies couldn't handle the sustained punishment. Some collapsed completely and had to be carried out by medical teams. Others made it to the finish line, but took hours to do it. Han Sol finished first. His time was 31 minutes, 16 minutes faster than the previous record. He wasn't even breathing hard. As other recruits limped across the finish line, they stared at the human in amazement. Jin Woo finished in the middle of the pack, much better than anyone expected from an Altarian. He immediately walked over to Han Sol. "Thank you," the big alien said. "I would never have made it without your help." "We're a team," Han Sol replied. "Teams don't leave people behind." Yuri approached them, her crystal face unreadable. "Explain," she demanded. "How did you do that?" "Do what?" "Break every record. Move like gravity doesn't affect you. Help others while setting an impossible pace." Han Sol thought for a moment. "I used to work construction on Earth, deep underground in high-pressure environments. We built the foundation supports for the new Soul Space elevator. The pressure down there was Challenging. Challenging how? Well, if you made a mistake, the weight of the entire city above you would crush you flat. Hansol shrugged. This felt similar, but lighter. Yuri's crystal body actually flickered with shock. Lighter? Before Hansol could answer, Commander Taemin appeared. He had watched the entire run from the control room, and his expression was unreadable. "Recruit Hansol," he said formally. "Report to my office in 1 hour." "Yes, sir." As the commander walked away, Haiwan approached Hansol. Her purple skin was still flushed with exhaustion, but her eyes showed something new. Respect. "I owe you an apology," she said. "I judged your people without knowledge. That was unworthy of a warrior." "No apology needed. We all have things to learn about each other." "Perhaps, but I have a proposal." Haiwan straightened to her full height. "I challenge you to formal combat. Tomorrow, in the main arena. I want to test myself against a true warrior." The other recruits gathered around them. A formal combat challenge was rare and serious. It meant both fighters would go all out, using every skill and ability they possessed. "I accept," Hansol said. "Simply. The arena can simulate any environment," Haiwan continued. "I choose maximum gravity with environmental hazards." "Sounds fair." As the crowd dispersed, So-Young scuttled over to Hansol, her insect-like head tilted with curiosity. "I have been analyzing your movement patterns," she said in her clicking voice. "Your muscle response time actually improves under higher gravity. This should be physiologically impossible." "Maybe humans work differently than you expect," Hansol suggested. "Yes," So-Young agreed. "Perhaps we all have underestimated Earth. I would like to study your people's history, learn how you developed such capabilities." An hour later, Hansol stood in Commander Taemin's office. The Velk warrior paced behind his desk like a caged predator. "I have been in contact with Coalition High Command," Taemin said finally. "They are interested in your performance today." "Is that good or bad, sir?" "That depends. They want to know if other humans can do what you did. They want to know if Earth has been hiding its true military capabilities." Hansol considered this. "I don't think I'm special, sir. Most humans work hard jobs. We're used to difficult conditions." "Difficult how?" "Well, Earth isn't exactly a safe place. We have earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, extreme weather. Our gravity is pretty strong compared to most worlds, and most human jobs involve heavy physical labor." Taemin stopped pacing. "You're saying all humans can handle extreme conditions?" "I'm saying we're used to adapting. It's what we do." The commander was quiet for a long moment. Then he made a decision that would change everything. "I'm increasing the gravity in your quarters to 12 times Earth normal. If you can handle that for a week, I'll recommend you for advanced training." Hansol smiled. "Thank you, sir. I appreciate the challenge." As the human left his office, Taemin realized he had made a mistake. He had been trying to break Hansol. Instead, he might have just unleashed something the galaxy wasn't ready for. Dr. Kyung-ho had spent most of his life studying alien biology. As an Etherian, he was naturally curious about how different species worked. His people looked like tall, thin humans made of pale blue light, and they were known throughout the galaxy for their scientific minds. But in all his years of research, he had never seen anything like the data coming from the human recruit. The medical scanner beeped softly as it finished another deep scan of Hansol's body. The human sat patiently on the examination table, completely relaxed, despite being under 12 times Earth gravity. Dr. Kyung-ho's glowing form flickered with excitement as he reviewed the results. "This is remarkable," the doctor muttered, his voice like wind through crystal chimes. "Your bone density has increased by 30% in just 1 week. Is that bad?" Hansol asked. "Bad? It's incredible. Most species would suffer bone fractures under this gravity level." but your skeleton is actually getting stronger. Dr. Kyung-ho turned to face him. How do you feel? Pretty good. Maybe a little hungry. I've been eating more than usual. Your muscle fibers are reorganizing themselves, the doctor explained. Your body is literally rebuilding itself to handle the stress. This should take months of gradual adaptation, not days. Han-Sol shrugged. Humans are pretty good at adapting to things. So I'm learning. Dr. Kyung-ho pulled up a holographic display showing Earth. Tell me about your world. What's it really like? Well, it's home. We have lots of different environments. Deserts, frozen areas, jungles, mountains. The weather changes a lot. Sometimes it's dangerous. Dangerous how? Han-Sol thought for a moment. Storms that can destroy entire cities. Ground that shakes and splits open. Mountains that explode with hot rock. The ocean sometimes rises up in giant waves that can wash away everything. He paused. Plus, we have animals that hunt humans. Big cats, bears, sharks, snakes with poison, insects that carry disease. Dr. Kyung-ho's form grew brighter with shock. Your world is actively trying to kill you? Not exactly trying, it's just challenging sometimes. Humans learn to deal with it. I need to research this further, the doctor said, making notes on his tablet. Your planet sounds like what we call a death world, a place where only the strongest creatures can survive. Meanwhile, in the training areas, Han-Sol's reputation continued to grow. Every day brought new challenges, and every day he exceeded expectations. The obstacle courses that had broken previous records became warm-up exercises. The endurance tests that left other recruits exhausted for days barely made him breathe hard. But it wasn't just his physical abilities that impressed people. In tactical training with So Young, he showed an unusual way of thinking about problems. The simulation shows enemy forces holding the high ground, So Young chittered as they studied a holographic battlefield. Standard coalition doctrine says we should retreat and call for artillery support. What if we don't retreat? Han-Sol suggested. The position is too strong. Any direct assault would fail. What about an indirect assault? So Young's compound eyes focused on him. Explain. Han-Sol pointed at the simulation. The enemy chose high ground because it gives them advantages, but it also makes them predictable. They expect us to attack uphill. He manipulated the hologram, showing a different approach. What if we collapse their high ground instead? The structural damage would require massive explosives. We don't have those resources. We don't need explosives. Look at the geological survey data. Han-Sol highlighted several areas on the map. This ridge is mostly loose rock held together by 3 key support points. If we remove those supports, the entire enemy position would collapse into the valley, So Young finished. Her mandibles clicked with excitement. This is brilliant tactical thinking. Where did you learn to see structural weaknesses? Construction work. When you're building something, you learn how things fall down. Their tactical innovations caught the attention of the instructors. Yuri began using their ideas in training, exercises. Other recruits started asking Han-Sol for advice on problem-solving. Jin Woo found him after one such session. The gentle Altarian had grown much stronger training under higher gravity, though he still struggled compared to Han-Sol. I want to thank you again, Jin Woo said in his deep, rumbling voice. Before you arrived, I was failing every physical test. Now, I'm passing most of them. You were never weak, Han-Sol replied. You just needed to find your strength. How? Do you always know what to say? What to do? Han-Sol considered this. My sister Yoonji always says that problems are just puzzles waiting to be solved. You just have to look at them from different angles. Their conversation was interrupted by Haiwan approaching. The Kandorian warrior looked different now. Less arrogant, more thoughtful. Her formal combat challenge with Han-Sol had ended in a surprising way. I have been thinking about our match, she said to Han Sol. The fight had been spectacular. HFY was a master warrior with 4 arms, enhanced reflexes, and centuries of combat experience. Han Sol was a human construction worker with no formal military training. By all logic, HFY should have won easily. Instead, the match had gone on for 2 hours under maximum gravity. HFY used superior technique and equipment. Han Sol used endurance and adaptation. As the fight continued, HFY grew tired while Han Sol seemed to get stronger. In the end, they had both collapsed from exhaustion, calling it a draw. You fought unlike anyone I have ever faced, HFY continued. You absorbed punishment that should have ended the match, and you kept learning during the fight itself. You're an amazing fighter, Han Sol replied. I learned a lot from you. That is what puzzles me. You learned. During combat, while under extreme stress, this should not be possible. So Young joined their conversation. I have been researching human evolution, she said. The data is fascinating. Your species developed in an environment of constant change and danger. Your brains are designed to learn and adapt quickly under stress. What does that mean? Jin Woo asked. It means humans get better when things get worse, So Young explained. Most species become less capable under stress. Humans become more capable. Dr. Kyung-ho appeared beside them, his ethereal form glowing with excitement. I have just finished my comprehensive study of human physiology, he announced. The results are extraordinary. He activated a holographic display showing comparative data between humans and other coalition species. Humans have the highest muscle adaptability of any known species, he began. Your cardiovascular system can increase efficiency by 400% under stress. Your skeletal structure actually becomes stronger under pressure, and your nervous system has redundancies that allow continued function even under severe damage. Are you saying humans are superior to other species? HFY asked. Not superior. Different. Humans evolved on a world that required constant adaptation to survive. Other species evolved on more stable worlds where specialization was more valuable than adaptability. So humans are generalists? Jin Woo suggested. More than that. Humans are adaptive specialists. You can quickly become good at almost anything when you need to. Commander Taemin had been listening from nearby. Now he stepped forward, his scaled face serious. Dr. Kyung-ho, send your research to Coalition High Command immediately, he ordered. They need to understand what we're dealing with. Is there a problem, sir? Han Sol asked. Perhaps, or perhaps an opportunity. Taemin looked at the small group of recruits. You have changed everything here, recruit. Other species are beginning to train under conditions they never thought possible. Standards are being raised across all programs. Is that good? Time will tell, but I suspect the galaxy is about to become a very different place. As if summoned by his words, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors as an emergency announcement echoed through the halls. All personnel, to emergency stations. We have received a distress call from Mining Colony Epsilon 7. They are under attack by Void Swarm forces. All elite units prepare for immediate deployment. The recruits looked at each other with a mixture of excitement and fear. The Void Swarm was the Coalition's most dangerous enemy. Energy beings that could drain power from any technology and feed on electromagnetic fields. Sir, Han Sol said to Commander Taemin, are we ready for real combat? The Valk commander studied the human recruit who had changed his understanding of what was possible. I think we're about to find out. The transport ship Vanguard cut through space toward Mining Colony Epsilon 7 like a knife through black silk. In the troop compartment, Han Sol checked his equipment one more time. The gear felt strange. Alien weapons designed for alien hands. Armor that had been hastily modified to fit human proportions. But the weight felt good. Familiar. Like the heavy tools he had carried on construction sites back on Earth. Around him, his squad made their own preparations. Jinwoo struggled with his massive plasma cannon, the weapon nearly as big as Han Sol himself. So Young ran diagnostics on her communication equipment, her insectoid fingers dancing over controls faster than the eye could follow. Hye-Won meditated in the Kandorian tradition, all four arms moving in complex patterns as she centered herself for battle. The newest member of their squad was Min-Soo, a medic from the aquatic pelagic species. His fish-like features were pale with worry as he organized medical supplies. The pelagics were peaceful by nature, and this was his first combat mission. "Contact in 30 minutes, announced the ship's captain over the intercom. "All squads prepare for high-gravity planetary insertion." Han Sol activated his communication link to speak with the squad. "Remember, this planet has massive gravity, 12 times Earth normal. That's going to affect how we move, how we fight, everything." "Easy for you to say," Jinwoo rumbled. "You've been training under that gravity for months. The rest of us are still adapting. That's why we work as a team. I'll handle anything that requires heavy lifting or extended combat. You focus on your specialties." Hye-Won opened her eyes from meditation. "The Void Swarm is unlike any enemy we have trained against. They are energy beings that can drain power from our equipment. Our weapons may fail, our armor may stop working. Then we adapt," Han Sol said simply. "It's what we do." The ship shuddered as they entered the planet's atmosphere. Through the small viewports, they could see the mining colony below. What should have been a complex of gleaming buildings and organized mining operations looked like a war zone. Dark energy storms swirled around damaged structures. Emergency. Lights flickered weakly in the distance. "Sensors show 300 colonists trapped in underground shelters," So Young reported. "The Void Swarm has surrounded the main evacuation site. Our job is to hold them off until the rescue ships arrive." "How long?" Min-Soo asked, his voice shaking slightly. 6 hours minimum." The ship touched down hard on the planet's surface. As soon as the doors opened, Han Sol felt the familiar pull of heavy gravity. To him, it felt like stepping into a slightly thicker atmosphere. To the others, it was like being pressed down by an invisible mountain. Jinwoo immediately activated his support exoskeleton. So Young's natural chitinous armor helped her cope with the increased weight. Hye-Won relied on her species' natural strength and her power suit's assistance. Min-Soo struggled the most. His aquatic biology wasn't designed for heavy gravity at all. "I've got you," Han Sol said, shouldering some of Min-Soo's medical equipment. "Stay close." They moved toward the colony as a unit. The landscape around them was twisted and wrong. The Void Swarm's energy had drained color from everything, leaving a gray, lifeless wasteland. In the distance, they could see the enemy. Creatures that looked like living shadows with burning white eyes. "Contact!" Hye-Won shouted. The first Void Swarm scouts moved toward them like liquid darkness. Han Sol raised his plasma rifle and fired. The energy beam struck the creature dead center, but instead of destroying it, the blast seemed to be absorbed. The shadow thing grew brighter and more solid. "Weapons are feeding them!" So Young chittered in alarm. Han Sol dropped his rifle and pulled out a simple metal combat knife, one of the few pieces of Earth equipment he had been allowed to bring. "Then we do this the old way." He charged toward the nearest shadow creature. The Void Swarm entity reached for him with tendrils of dark energy, trying to drain his life force. But when the tendrils touched Han Sol, something unexpected happened. The creature recoiled as if burned. Han Sol's knife sliced through the shadow being like it was made of smoke. The creature dissolved with a sound like breaking glass. "How did you do that?" Hye-Won demanded as she struggled with her own opponent, using her bare hands. "I don't know," Han Sol replied, already moving toward the next enemy. "Maybe they can't drain what they don't understand." The battle became a running fight as they pushed toward the evacuation site. Han Sol led the way, his simple metal blade somehow more effective against the void swarm than any advanced weapon. Behind him, the others adapted their tactics, using physical attacks instead of energy weapons. They reached the underground shelter after an hour of continuous fighting. The heavy blast doors were sealed tight, with frightened colonists huddled inside. But between the squad and the shelter entrance stood dozens of void swarm creatures. "There are too many," Jinwoo said. His massive frame was trembling with exhaustion from fighting under heavy gravity. "We need a new plan," So Young agreed. Hansol studied the situation. The shadow creatures had formed a perfect defensive circle around the shelter. Any direct assault would be suicide, but something about their formation seemed familiar. They're behaving like a liquid, he realized. Following the path of least resistance, flowing around obstacles. "What does that mean?" Minsu asked. "It means they think like a flood, not like individual fighters." Hansol pointed to a damaged mining platform nearby. "If we can redirect their flow..." Working together, they managed to topple the massive platform. The metal structure crashed down, creating a barrier that forced the void swarm creatures to move in a different direction. As they flowed around the obstacle, they left the shelter entrance temporarily unguarded. "Now!" Hansol shouted. They sprinted toward the shelter, fighting their way through the scattered enemies. Hansol reached the blast doors first and began the emergency opening sequence. Behind him, his squad formed a defensive line. The doors opened to reveal terrified colonists, families with children, elderly workers, injured miners. They looked at the rescue squad with desperate hope. "Everyone out," Hansol ordered. "Move to the emergency beacon." What followed was the longest 6 hours of his life. They had to escort 300 civilians across 2 kilometers of hostile terrain while under constant attack from the void swarm. The heavy gravity made every step a struggle for the colonists. Children had to be carried. Injured people needed support. Hansol found himself everywhere at once. When civilians fell behind, he carried them. When the void swarm attacked, he fought them off with his simple knife. When equipment failed under the energy drain, he found ways to work around it. "I can't keep this up," Jinwoo gasped during a brief lull in the fighting. The gentle giant had been using his massive strength to clear debris, but the heavy gravity was wearing him down. "You don't have to keep it up," Hansol replied. "You just have to keep going." "What's the difference?" "Keeping it up means maintaining the same level forever. Keeping going means taking one more step, then another, then another." So Young's communication equipment crackled. "Rescue ships are 20 minutes out, but the void swarm is massing for a final attack." Through the gray landscape, they could see shadows gathering, more enemies than they had faced so far. The creatures seemed to sense that their prey was about to escape. "Can we hold them off for 20 minutes? Haewon asked. Hansol looked at his exhausted squad, then at the frightened civilians they were protecting. The smart tactical answer was no. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and fighting an enemy that grew stronger from their best weapons. But tactics weren't everything. "Yes," he said simply, "we can." The final battle was chaos. Void swarm creatures attacked from all directions while the squad formed a circle around the civilians. Energy weapons were useless, so they fought with knives, clubs, and bare hands. The heavy gravity that had been their enemy became their ally. The shadow creatures moved more slowly under its influence. Hansol was in the center of it all, his metal knife flashing as he cut down enemy after enemy. When Jinwoo's exoskeleton failed, Hansol helped support him. When So Young's communication gear was drained, he relayed messages by shouting. When Minsu was overwhelmed treating wounded civilians, Hansol carried the most seriously injured. Then, just when it seemed they would be overwhelmed, the sound of engines filled the air. Coalition rescue ships descended from the sky, their military escorts driving back the void swarm with coordinated fire. As the last civilian was loaded onto a transport, Commander Tae-min approached the squad. His scaled face showed something Han Sol had never seen before, respect mixed with amazement. "Report," the commander ordered. "Mission successful, sir," Han Sol replied. "All civilians evacuated, 0 friendly casualties." How? Han Sol looked at his squad. Jin Woo sitting heavily but alive, So Young organizing after-action reports, Hai Wan helping Min-soo with the wounded, Min-soo working tirelessly despite his exhaustion. "We worked as a team, sir. We adapted to the situation and kept going when things got difficult." Tae-min studied the human recruit who had just accomplished the impossible. Around them, other coalition forces were setting up a perimeter, but the immediate danger was over. "Recruit Han Sol," the commander said formally, "I am recommending you for immediate promotion to squad leader." 3 months after the mining colony rescue, squad leader Han Sol stood in the briefing room aboard the coalition command ship Harmony. Around the holographic display table, other squad leaders studied the tactical situation with grim expressions. This was no training exercise or simple rescue mission. This was war. The Void Swarm has established a permanent base on Kepler 442b, Admiral Songmi announced. The elderly human officer had been one of Earth's first representatives to the coalition, and her weathered face showed the stress of command. "Intelligence indicates they're using the planet as a staging ground for attacks throughout this sector." The holographic display showed a world covered in dark energy storms. Unlike the mining colony, this was a full-scale Void Swarm installation with thousands of the shadow creatures defending it. "Our mission is simple," the Admiral continued. "Destroy the base. Eliminate the threat. Come home alive." Han Sol studied the tactical data with growing concern. The planet's gravity was 15 times Earth normal, heavier than anything they had trained for. The atmosphere was toxic to most coalition species, and the Void Swarm had had months to prepare their defenses. "Sir," spoke up squad leader Yong-soo, a veteran Kandorian warrior, "our heavy weapons will be useless against targets that absorb energy. How do we destroy a base we can't effectively attack?" "That's why we're trying a new approach," Admiral Songmi replied. She gestured, and the display changed to show ship schematics. "We're going in with minimal technology, basic weapons, simple equipment, old-fashioned tactics." "You mean we're fighting an energy-based enemy with knives and explosives?" asked another squad leader. "If necessary, yes." The room fell silent. Most coalition tactics relied heavily on advanced technology, energy shields, plasma weapons, computer-guided systems. Fighting without those advantages would be like trying to perform surgery with stone tools. Squad leader Han Sol, the Admiral said, "Your team has the most experience fighting the Void Swarm under extreme conditions. You'll be leading the assault." Han Sol nodded. "Understood, sir. What's the timeline?" "Insertion in 6 hours. The gravity and atmosphere will limit our operational window to 12 hours maximum. After that, the environmental suits will fail and we'll have to withdraw." After the briefing, Han Sol gathered his squad in their preparation area. The team had grown since the mining colony mission. Jin Woo was now his deputy, the gentle Altarian having discovered inner strength under Han Sol's leadership. So Young served as communications and tactical support, her analytical mind proving invaluable in complex situations. Hai Wan commanded the combat specialists, her warrior pride now tempered with respect for teamwork. Min-soo had become their chief medic and survival expert. They had also gained new members. Dong-hyun was a demolitions expert from the rocky golem species, literally made of living stone and completely immune to energy weapons. Ye-jin was a pilot from the bird-like Eris race, chosen for her ability to navigate in low-visibility conditions. "All right, team," Han Sol began. "This is going to be our biggest challenge yet. The gravity alone will crush most coalition forces. The atmosphere will kill us if our suits fail. And we're going in with equipment that would have been outdated 100 years ago." "So why are we confident we can succeed?" Jin Woo asked with a slight smile. Because we've learned to work together. Because we adapt. And because simple sometimes beats complicated. Han Solo activated a holographic map of their target. The Void Swarm base is built around a natural crystal formation that amplifies their energy absorption. If we can destroy that formation, the base becomes vulnerable to conventional attack. How do we reach it? Haywan asked. The defenses will be concentrated around any obvious approach. We don't take an obvious approach. Han Solo manipulated the display, showing underground passages. The planet used to be a mining world. These tunnels run right under the base. So Young's mandibles clicked with concern. Those tunnels were abandoned because they're unstable. The heavy gravity could cause cave-ins. Could. But human miners worked in similar conditions on Earth. I know how to read geological stress patterns. Ye Jin fluffed her feathers nervously. And if the tunnels collapse while we're inside? Then we dig our way out. It wouldn't be the first time. 6 hours later, they dropped toward the planet's surface in a modified transport designed for extreme conditions. As they entered the atmosphere, Han Solo felt the familiar weight of heavy gravity settling over him like an old friend. To his team, it was like being crushed by an invisible giant. The landscape below was a nightmare of twisted metal and dark energy. The Void Swarm had transformed the planet's surface into something alien and hostile. Energy storms crackled between, massive spires that pulsed with malevolent light. Landing zone is hot, Ye Jin reported from the pilot's seat. Multiple hostiles converging on our position. Expected, Han Solo replied calmly. Set us down at the tunnel entrance and get ready for immediate extraction. The transport touched down hard, its hull groaning under the planet's crushing gravity. As soon as the doors opened, Void Swarm creatures began flowing toward them like living oil. Move! Han Solo ordered. They sprinted toward the tunnel entrance, fighting their way through shadow creatures that seemed to emerge from the ground itself. Dong-hyun's stone body proved immune to the energy drains, making him an effective rear guard. The others struggled with the gravity, but kept moving. The tunnel entrance was a gaping hole in the planet's surface, leading down into absolute darkness. Without energy-based lighting that the Void Swarm could drain, they had to rely on chemical flares and basic illumination. These tunnels are worse than I thought, Han Solo muttered as they descended. The walls were cracked and unstable, held together by failing support beams. Every step seemed to shake loose more debris. Can we make it? Minsu asked, his aquatic features pale with fear. One step at a time, Han Solo replied, using his construction experience to choose the safest path forward. They moved through the underground maze for hours, always heading toward the base above. The heavy gravity made every movement exhausting, but Han Solo kept them moving with quiet encouragement and practical advice. Jinwoo, redistribute your equipment weight to your lower body. It'll help with balance. So Young, use your natural grip to help stabilize loose rocks. Hey, One, your forearms give you better balance than the rest of us. Take point when we hit narrow sections. Slowly, they worked their way under the Void Swarm base. The tunnels here were different. Older, more solid, but also more dangerous. Energy from above leaked down through cracks in the ceiling, creating pools of shadow that moved with malevolent purpose. Contact, Haywan whispered. Void Swarm creatures had found their way into the tunnels. But down here, in the cramped darkness, the shadow beings lost some of their advantages. They couldn't flow and move as easily, and the coalition squad had learned to fight without energy weapons. The battle was brutal and close quarters. Han Solo's knife work had improved dramatically since his first encounter with the enemy. Dong-hyun used his stone fists to crush shadow creatures. Haywan's four-armed combat style was devastatingly effective in narrow spaces. There, So-young chittered, pointing ahead. I can detect the energy signature of the crystal formation. It's directly above us. They had reached the center of the base. Above them, tons of rock and metal separated them from their target. But Han Solo had come prepared. Dong-hyun, start placing charges. We're going to blow our way up. The cave-in will kill us, Minsu protested. Not if we time it right. Han Sol studied the tunnel structure with his construction worker's eye. We create a controlled collapse that forms a ramp instead of a cave-in. It's been done before. Where? Seoul Space Elevator Project. We had to blast through similar rock formations. Working quickly, they placed explosive charges at carefully calculated points. The void swarm creatures sensed danger and attacked, in greater numbers, but the squad held them off with determination born of desperation. Charges set, Dong-hyun reported. Everyone take cover. This is going to be loud. The explosion was tremendous, shaking the entire tunnel system. For a moment, Han Sol thought he had miscalculated and they would all be buried alive. Then the dust settled and he saw that his plan had worked. The controlled collapse had created a steep ramp leading upward toward the surface. Move! We have! Maybe 10 minutes before the base defenses reorganize. They climbed the makeshift ramp under crushing gravity and constant attack from shadow creatures. When they finally broke through into the base itself, they found themselves in the heart of the enemy installation. The crystal formation towered above them, a structure of pure energy that pulsed with dark power. Around it, void swarm creatures swirled like a living storm. How do we destroy something made of energy? Ye-jin asked. Han Sol smiled grimly and pulled out a simple device, a mining charge designed for breaking up rock formations. Same way, you destroy anything else. You hit it with something harder. The final assault was chaos. While his team held off the void swarm defenders, Han Sol fought his way to the crystal formation. Energy tendrils lashed at him, trying to drain his life force, but somehow his human physiology resisted better than expected. He placed the mining charge at the base of the crystal and activated the timer. 30 seconds. Everyone out, he shouted. 1 year later, Commander Han Sol stood in the same briefing room where he had first met Yuri and the other instructors. But everything had changed. The walls displayed holographic images of training facilities from across the galaxy, all using what was now called the Terran Protocol. The gravity in the room was set to 8 times Earth normal. What used to be considered impossible was now standard for elite training. Class efficiency has improved by 340% since implementing human standard training, Dr. Kyung-ho reported to the assembled instructors. His ethereal form glowed with excitement as he shared the data. Dropout rates have actually decreased despite the increased difficulty. Yuri's crystal body chimed with satisfaction. Recruits who would have failed under the old system are now exceeding previous graduation standards. The impossible has become routine. Han Sol listened with quiet pride as the instructors discussed how his arrival had transformed military training throughout the coalition, but his attention was focused on the training grounds visible through the briefing room windows. Down there, his old squad was now training new recruits. Jin Woo had become an instructor specializing in heavy gravity operations. The gentle Altarian who had once struggled to complete basic exercises now taught others how to thrive under crushing conditions. His natural kindness made him excellent at encouraging students who thought they couldn't continue. So Young ran the Tactical Analysis Program, teaching recruits to think creatively about problems. Her analytical mind had been enhanced by human-style adaptability, creating new approaches to warfare that combined logic with intuition. Haewon commanded the Combat Training Division. The proud Kandorian warrior had learned that true strength came from lifting others up, not proving superiority. Her four-armed fighting style had been adapted to help recruits learn coordination and teamwork. Minsu directed the survival and medical training. The gentle Pelagic had discovered courage he never knew he possessed, and now taught others that bravery wasn't the absence of fear. It was continuing to act despite being afraid. "Commander Han Sol," said Admiral Songmi, drawing his attention back to the meeting. "Your thoughts on the new training protocols?" Han Sol stood and faced the assembled instructors, beings from dozens of species, who had initially doubted that humans belonged among them. Now they looked at him with respect earned through action and results. The protocols are working because they're not really about gravity or physical challenges, he said. They're about changing how we think about limits. Explain, requested Commander Taemin. The Vyelk warrior had become one of Han Solo's strongest supporters, though he still struggled to believe how much had changed. When I first arrived, everyone assumed they knew what humans could do based on our physical specifications. Small bones, weak muscles, low-gravity homeworld. Han Solo gestured toward the training grounds. But they didn't account for our most important trait. We don't accept that something is impossible just because it's difficult. Yuri's crystal form flickered with curiosity. You're saying human psychology is more important than human physiology? I'm saying they work together. Human bodies can adapt to almost anything if human minds refuse to give up. And that's not unique to humans. Every species has hidden potential they never explore because they accept artificial limits. Dr. Kyung-ho nodded enthusiastically. The data supports this. We've seen dramatic improvements in species that were previously considered unsuitable for military service. The key is psychological conditioning, combined with gradual physical adaptation. Which brings us to the next phase, Admiral Songmi announced. She activated a new holographic display showing star charts. The Coalition Council has approved expansion of Terran protocol training to civilian applications. Engineering, mining, emergency response, scientific research, everywhere we need people to perform beyond normal expectations. Han Solo studied the expansion plans with growing amazement. What had started as one human's refusal to quit was becoming a galaxy-wide revolution in how people thought about their own capabilities. There's more, the Admiral continued. Earth has been selected to host the new Advanced Training Academy. We want to establish a facility where the best instructors from every species can learn and teach together. Will it work? Asked Taemin. Can different species really train together effectively? Han Solo smiled, thinking of his squad, aliens who had become family through shared struggles and mutual support. It already works, sir. My team proved that. After the meeting, Han Solo walked through the corridors of Stellar Forge toward his old quarters. The gravity was now set to 12 times Earth normal, but he barely noticed. His body had adapted so completely that anything less felt uncomfortably light. He found Yunji waiting for him in the observation lounge. His sister had arrived on one of the new cultural exchange ships, part of Earth's growing integration with the Coalition. She looked exactly the same as in their video calls, but her eyes showed the wonder of someone seeing the galaxy for the first time. "Big brother," she said, hugging him tightly. "I'm so proud of you." "I just did what anyone would do." "No, you did what only you would do. You refused to accept that good enough was good enough." They stood together at the observation window, watching ships from dozens of worlds arriving and departing. The space station that had once reluctantly accepted its first human recruit was now a hub of interspecies cooperation and learning. "What happens next?" Yunji asked. "We keep growing, keep learning, keep pushing past what people think is possible." "And, personally, what do you want to do?" Han Solo considered this. A year ago, he had been a construction worker hoping to prove that humans belonged in the galaxy. Now he was a decorated commander with offers from military academies on a dozen worlds. But what he really wanted was simpler. "I want to keep training with my team. Keep helping people discover they're stronger than they think. Keep proving that working together makes everyone better." That sounds perfect. Through the window, they could see Earth in the distance, a small blue world that had seemed insignificant to most galactic powers. Now it was becoming a symbol of potential and determination. "You know what's funny?" Yunji said. "Everyone kept asking what made humans special. But it wasn't that we were special. It was that we believed everyone could be special." Han Solo nodded. That was exactly right. The real revolution hadn't been proving human superiority. It had been proving that every species, every individual, had hidden strengths waiting to be discovered. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Han Sol activated his communication device and saw Jin Woo's gentle face appear on the screen. "Commander, we have new recruits arriving tomorrow. A mixed group from 12 different species. They're asking specifically to train under Terran protocol. Conditions. What are their backgrounds? Farmers, teachers, artists, engineers, mostly civilians who want to challenge themselves. No military experience at all." Han Sol grinned. "Perfect. Set the gravity to 15 times Earth normal and prepare the advanced obstacle courses." "Sir, that's beyond anything we've attempted with new recruits." "Jin Woo, do you remember what I told you on your first day in heavy gravity?" The Altarian's expression softened with memory. "You said I was stronger than I thought. Same applies to these new students. They're stronger than they think. They just need someone to believe in them until they believe in themselves." "Understood. Sir, should I warn them about the difficulty level?" "No. Let them discover what they're capable of. That's how real growth happens." After ending the call, Han Sol turned back to his sister. "Want to see the training grounds tomorrow? Watch impossible become routine? I wouldn't miss it." As they walked toward the quarters where Unji would be staying, they passed through the station's main corridor. The walls were lined with portraits, images of the first graduates from each species to complete Terran protocol training. Aliens who had exceeded every expectation and redefined what their people could achieve. At the end of the hall hung a simple plaque with words that had become the unofficial motto of the new training philosophy. "Impossible is just a starting point." Below it was a quote from the human who had changed everything. "We don't accept limits. We find ways around them." Han Sol paused in front of the plaque, remembering that first day when Commander Tae-min had tried to break him with increased gravity. The scared young construction worker who had asked for triple gravity seemed like a different person now. But in a way, he was exactly the same. He still refused to accept that something couldn't be done. He still believed that working together made everyone stronger. He still thought the best response to an impossible challenge was to smile and ask for something harder. "Ready for tomorrow?" Yunji asked. Han Sol looked ahead toward the training grounds where new recruits would soon discover they were capable of far more than they had ever imagined. Where impossible would once again become routine. Where the galaxy would continue to expand its understanding of what was possible. "Always," he replied. And somewhere in the distance, new ships were already approaching, carrying dreamers and doubters, artists and warriors, all coming to learn the same lesson Han Sol had taught. The galaxy, that the only real limits are the ones you accept, that working together makes everyone stronger.